Guys, welcome back to my channel. I do have a stuffy nose because of my allergies, so if you hear me sniffle a lot, it's because of that, and you've probably heard that many times in my other videos. Again, it's because of that. There's a lot of background noise right now, so I'm trying my best to go faster so you guys don't have to hear all of that. However, so I wanted to just talk about the 15 the 15 facts we're going to do about all of the Saw movies in honor of the new Saw movie coming out. I have not watched any Saw movies, actually, to be honest with you guys. So let me know if I'm wrong about some of the facts here, but let's get right into it. So number 1 is it was never meant to be a sequel. In the first Saw, we learned that the corpse in the room with Dr. Gordon and Adam is the serial killer. After rising to his feet and sealing Adam in the room, viewers were desperate to learn more about the enigmatic antagonist. And with an ending like that, it was no surprise the sequel was greenlit. According to James Wan and Lee Whannell, a franchise was never on their radar because the filmmakers could never have anticipated Saw's success. Turning out sequels was the last thing on their mind. The end may seem like blatant sequel bait, but Wan and Whannell always perceived Saw as a self-contained story. In their minds, Saw was a demo reel to help them to work on other projects. Ironically, it went to become their magnum opus as well as one of the most successful horror series of all time. Number 2, nobody ever says Hello Zep or whatever. Saw's theme song, Hello Zep, is regarded as one of the most unnerving musical scores in horror. The chilling jingle has become so synonymous with the franchise. A variant of Hello Zep had been utilized in every entry in the series. Ironically, the phrase Hello Zep is never spoken in the original film. Most people believe Jigsaw says this sentence because the song is played in the climax when Adam learns Zep is an unwilling accomplice of Jigsaw, not Jigsaw himself. Adam discovers this when he finds a tape recorder in Zep's pocket with a recording from Jigsaw. However, the first thing Jigsaw says is, "Hello, Mr. Hindle," or as they call you around the hospital, Zep. Number 3 is all of Saw 2 was filmed in one building. After the original film made nearly 100 times its budget, Lionsgate immediately greenlit a sequel with a $4 million budget. Although this doesn't seem like a lot of money, it was quadruple the budget of its predecessor. The production team may have had a lot more cash in this time around, but they still managed to save money by keeping the locations to a bare minimum. So how many locations were used for Saw 2? A grand total of 1, even though the film seems to have many locations, including Amanda's flat, a police station, an abandoned house, a trap room, Detective Eric Matthews' home, Jigsaw's base, and the same bathroom that appeared in the original film. The entire movie was shot in the same building. Number 5, Saw 2's ending was top secret. So because Saw was considered to have one of the most mind-blowing twists ever, horror fans were eager to learn how the follow-up was going to end. With leaks on social media becoming an increasing concern, the production team on Saw 2 had to take extreme measures to ensure the climax wasn't revealed prematurely. As a result, the majority of the actors of the film didn't receive the last 25 pages of the script. To minimize leaks, further alternative endings were shot, so the actors weren't sure which climax would be the theatrical version. This practice may not be common, but Saw 2 went a little overboard. The production filmed not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 alternative endings. In hindsight, it seemed a bit overkill since the twist was nowhere near as powerful as the original film. Number 6. While the first film took place in a rundown industrial bathroom, an initial idea from co-creators James Wan and Lee Whannell was to have the entire film feature 2 actors stuck in an elevator shot from point of view of security cameras in hopes of keeping it contained and relatively cheap. Number 7. After James pitched Lee on what would become the first film's plot, he was struck with inspiration for the untitled project. "I'll never forget that day," is what he said. Quote, "I'll never forget that day. I remember hanging up on the phone and just started to going over it in my head, and without any sort of long period of pondering, I opened my diary that I had at the time and wrote the word Saw." Lee told Bloody Disgusting in 2010, or so she. It was one of the moments that made me aware that some things just really are meant to be. Some things are just waiting to be there to be discovered. Number 8 is the impetus for the franchise's iconic villain Jigsaw came about when persistent migraine sent Lee, convinced he had a brain tumor, to a neurologist for an MRI. "I started to think, what if you were given the news that you had a tumor and you were going to die soon? How would you react to that? So I started to imagine this character who had been given a time limit, who'd been told that he had a year to 2 years to live, really, and his condition would slowly kill him. He told the AV Club in 2010. Then I sort of attached that to the idea of somebody who put people in a literal version of that." Number 9. Despite her character, Amanda Young, becoming a central figure in the Saw franchise mythology, actress Shawnee Smith, not a horror fan, initially turned down the role, describing the script as horrific. It was only after she watched the original short film, which featured what would become Amanda's story in Saw, that she accepted. Number 10. The first film was shot over the span of 18 days. With a production budget of just under $1 million, money was so tight that very few takes were permitted for each scene, and in post-production, James found he didn't have enough shots to work, forcing him and editor Kevin to get creative. "We would cobble shots together and we would make up, and basically we would grunge the shot up to make it look like surveillance cameras. And then we would use stills that the still photographer had shot to basically fill in the gaps," he told the AV Club. "We did a lot of things to fill in gaps throughout the film. Whenever we cut to newspaper clippings and stuff like that, or we cut to surveillance cameras, or we cut to still photography within the film, which now people say, wow, that's such a cool experimental style of filmmaking. We really did that out of necessity to fill in gaps that we did not get during the filming." Number 11. A ton of stuff was changed for Saw 2. In Saw 2, Addison is left to die while trapped in the razor box trap. Originally, she was meant to be shackled to a chair and could only escape by pushing her face through waffle iron-like grill. She managed to free herself, but was left horrifically disfigured. This trap was repurposed for Cecil in Saw 5. In the opening scene, Michael learned the key for his restraints is behind his eyeball originally. The key was hidden in the wrist, meaning he had to slice open his arm to retrieve it. This scene was probably revised. It was too similar to the razor box trap. But these weren't only changes made. A lot of the characters' backstories were removed due to pacing issues. We were originally going to learn that Gus had embezzled money from his company. He was supposed to be the one to perform the razor box trap. To reference him reaching for the cookie jar, it was also going to be unveiled that Addison is a prostitute who had sex with Detective Eric Matthews in his police car, which led him to his demotion. Number 12. Saw 2 started off as a separate film. While Saw was getting a lot of buzz at festivals, director Darren Lynn Bosman was pitching his script for the desperate potential investors. When Saw producers Greg Hoffman read it, he thought it would be a great film to make in the same vein as Saw. Even though there was originally no desire to make a sequel to Saw, Hoffman changed his mind when the film became a global phenomenon. Because it would take months to complete, it would take months to complete a script. Hoffman thought it was sensible to turn the desperate into Saw 2. When Boseman was asked if his work could be revised for the franchise, he was furious, worried the finished product would have no resemblance to his script. But after he saw the success of Saw and noticed the similarities between the plot and his own story, he felt that amalgamating the Desperate into the Saw universe would work. Even though Lee Winnell polished the scripts for 4 weeks, a lot of main points remain unchanged, including the characters, the traps, and the death scenes. The refined script turned out so well you wouldn't know it wasn't intended to be a part of the Saw franchise. Number 13, the needle pit in Saw 2 was a nightmare to set up. Each of Jigsaw's victims are being poisoned by a slow-acting toxin. Near the end of the film, the survivors discover the antidote isn't a pitiful filled with thousands of used syringes. The needle pit may be considered to be one of the best traps in the series, but it was the most complex scene in the entire franchise to set up. First off, the crew had to order a staggering 120,000 syringes. That was the easiest part. Then they spent 4 days replacing all the needle points with fiber tips to ensure the actress in the scene, Shawnee Smith, didn't stab herself. As an extra precaution, gelatine and water was poured into the pit to make the syringe extra slippery. But no matter how careful one is, something can always go wrong. One day, some real needles fell into the pit, forcing the production to cease until they were located. This means the crew had to literally find a needle in a stack of needles. That was probably not fun. No, I wouldn't think so either. Number 14, real maggots were used for the pig scene in Saw 3. Saw 3 is often considered to be the goriest entry in the franchise. It has scenes of open brain surgery and a person being racked to death. Having said that, these scenes are outgrossed by the pig vat trap. In this scene, this victim is sealed to the floor of cylindrical vat by a neck restraint, while pig guts are poured in through a chute. If the victim isn't freed, the vat will fill up with the pulp, causing the victim to drown in the most disgusting way imaginable. As the trap activates, there is a haunting shot of a maggot-infested pig carcass before it's hurled into the chute. The pig itself is a prop composed of latex, rubber, and foam, but the maggots are 100% real. Lee Winnell said he felt physically sick watching the scene. Last is Rob Zombie helped Saw 3 earn its R rating. I had no idea these were not R-rated at all. Filmmakers usually try to avoid an R rating if possible, since it limits how many people can see the film, which impairs ticket sales. This was a serious problem for Saw 3 since, well, you have seen the movie. After receiving the NC-17 rating 6 times, director David Lynn Bousman decided to consult an expert because Rob Zombie's films like Halloween, The House of a Thousand Corpses, and The Devil's Rejects received R ratings. Bousman thought he was the perfect person to speak to. According to Zombie, it was the nudity in the frozen woman trap that earned the Saw 3 an NC rating. This is ironic since this is considered the tamest trap in the film by far. After Bousman tweaked the scene to Zombie's specification, Saw 3 was finally certified with an R rating. Bizarrely, the censored board had no problem whatsoever with the brain surgery scene, reasoning the same content be viewed on the most medical shows. Holy, that was a lot of breathing, and oh, my nose was just going wild. Anyways, let me know in the comments below what you guys think, what your favorite Saw movie was, if you've seen the movie, or whatever it is. I would love to hear from it. Comment below, and if I get any of the facts wrong, or if you know of any other facts, comment below. See you guys later. Subscribe. Bye now.